Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Community Awareness. If I could get everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Begin. Thank you. Okay, I think we're going to have first, we have Officer Rodriguez. He's going to come up here and give a update on what's going on here in good old Banning.
Good afternoon, everybody. Last month, for the month of June, me as the homeless liaison made 22 arrests related to the homeless. We fielded 44 calls for service for homeless-related issues while I was here. We conducted 10 city cleanups with the city workers, and we recovered 15 shopping carts. Also, I don't know if you guys saw last month, we conducted a multi-agency cleanup with Union Pacific Railroad, Caltrans, and the city of Beaumont. So I don't know if you guys saw that on social media. We were up and down here along the railroad tracks. Also, for the month of July, we do have another operation plan to clean up Smiths Creek. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Smiths Creek. It's right here off of Sunset. It's that big old gully. So we're hoping to clear out all the transients there as well here in the next couple weeks. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Any questions for Officer Rodriguez? Oh, come on, not one? Okay.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Next is our Michael Romero from Securitas.
Mic check. Yep. Hey, Jonathan. Good afternoon, folks. I'll be really quick with some of these notifications for you. Just a few announcements. Recently, our security department has noticed an amazing uptick in community engagement regarding suspicious individuals hanging around outside Sun Lake's walls. Our residents, let's do this real quick here. Our residents have been on the ball, reaching out to us to alert us about potential threats, showing a strong dedication to the safety and well-being of our community. These quick and detailed reports have allowed our team to act swiftly, intercepting and removing undesirables before they even think about causing trouble at Sun Lakes. This teamwork between the community and our department has been key in keeping things secure. We've been also able to respond quickly and effectively, all thanks to our vigilance and cooperation of our awesome residents. The trust and open communication between our department and community have not only boosted our operational efficiency, but also created a sense of collective responsibility for safety. This synergy ensures that Sun Lakes remains a safe and welcoming place for everybody. So I always encourage everybody, the moment that you see somebody suspicious, vehicles that shouldn't be in certain areas of your neighborhood, give us a call. We've been pretty good about responding to these calls effectively and immediately. So if it's something's telling you in your gut that doesn't look right, give us a call. We'll definitely go out there and check it out, and we'll work alongside with Banning PD, as we have for the last couple of months, to make these changes happen for the community as well. Another interesting subject, which I'm sure you folks are going to talk about here soon, in recent months, we've noticed a rise in online and phone scams targeting our residents. These scammers are like the chameleons of the con world, often pretending to be family members or representatives from reputable companies like insurance agents or medical personnel. What's their goal? To trick you into handing over large sums of money. It's essential to stay vigilant and protect yourselves from these schemes. If you get an unsolicited call, email, or message asking for personal information or immediate payment, be on the guard. Always verify the identity of the caller or sender by independently contacting the company or individual they claim to represent. Remember, never share your personal information or financial information over the phone or online unless you're sure of the recipient's legitimacy. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. And if you do encounter one of these pesky scammers, you can report them directly to Banning PD on the emergency line. That's 951 area code 922-3170. By staying informed and cautious, we can help all our residents and keep these scam artists from making off with our hard-earned money. Stay safe, stay smart, and remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Unless it's a free pizza, then go for the free pizza all the time, okay? Absolutely. It's 951 area code, 922-3170. They do have an option that you can pick for online or phone scams that are happening, and they'll be more than happy to take your statement. Lastly, I'm going to soak up all the fun this summer from the pools. So our pool monitors have been engaging with residents and guests at the main clubhouse and also enforcing Sun Lake's rules and regulations. At times, we have encountered a few guests and residents not complying with these regulations. An example, bringing outside alcohol, bringing infants, wearing diapers in the pool, or even the use of inflatables. So let me just ruin the summer here for most of you folks. The pool monitor will make sure that all rules and regs are honored, otherwise residents will be asked to leave, and we will report any violations to planning and compliance, and those residents are risking the suspension of your privileges. Pool hours for the holidays, such as 4th of July and Labor Day, have been extended from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Once again, that's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. All other days are from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. My officers will go around the facility maybe 5 minutes before 2 p.m. to inform residents that have guests with minors that it is almost time to leave the facilities. Should give you plenty of time to pack up and start heading out, folks, okay? Residents will need their residence cards to use the facilities upon signing in. My officers have a sign-in sheet, and they will be asking for your Sun Lakes ID cards. Make sure you take it with them, folks. That's the only way my team can verify that you are truly a resident using the facilities. Otherwise, my officer might ask you to go home and pick it up. We don't want to inconvenience anybody. We want to make sure you're there to use the facilities and have a good time along with your guests. Residents, okay, let's see where we left off. There's absolutely no outside alcohol at the main clubhouse pool. There's a bar inside should you wish to indulge in an alcoholic beverage. We just can't risk Sun Lakes losing their liquor license. So main clubhouse, absolutely no outside alcohol. We've just received the go-ahead as well to start checking any coolers or bags that are coming into the main clubhouse. So if you guys are bringing or know of anybody that's bringing alcohol from the outside, we're going to definitely ask you to either throw it away or leave the premises. We cannot risk Sun Lakes losing their liquor license. We want to make sure that everybody here indulges in that and has a good time with that as well. North Clubhouse, however, it is allowed. You can bring alcohol from the outside, just don't risk and bring in any glass containers inside the pool. You can indulge out there as much as you like, but you can still report to security if you see any issues out in the facilities at the North Clubhouse. No infants or diapers are permitted in any of the pools, and absolutely no flotation devices of any size are permitted. Only pool noodles or the mesh floating seats that you guys normally just lounge in the pool with. So that's all that's actually permitted. I know it's a bummer, but we do have other residents that like to use the facilities and enjoy that peace and quiet just like anybody else. That's what you guys are paying for. That's what you're here to enjoy at the pools. It's just that peace and quiet and the beauty of Sun Lake. So. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add on to my report. We're going to continue doing our parking enforcements as we normally do. Garage door checks are still being done between 8 and midnight, and our goal is just to maintain transparency for the community. If you guys have any questions or concerns, you can reach out to me or Lieutenant Roman. We will continue to work alongside with the community to help you guys in your needs. Do you have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Mike, I'm the infamous Kathy Perrone. I've called you several times.
Ms. Perrone, it's nice
Hi.
putting a face
Hi.
to your name now.
So I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but I'm really not seeing these rules enforced. Nobody's signing in. And on the 4th of July last year, I was horrified to see a guest putting suntan lotion on someone inside the pool. So there's just no respect for our facilities from outside guests, and that just really frosted me.
I understand your frustration. We are doing this on a seasonal basis. Our first goal is to educate residents, folks. We are going to educate as much as we can, especially the new generation of residents that are moving into Sun Lakes that we've recently seen. We just need to educate them, and that's what we're here to do. We're going to continue the education process for the new residents as well. This year, we did start a little rough with our pool privilege, our pool monitors, but I've made some changes. I've put some new officers in there that are a little bit more assertive when it comes to the rules and regulations. And we're going to continue pushing that as well. So don't hesitate. I am here to make sure that the rules and regulations are being enforced. If you see one of my team members not doing that, call me. I will definitely make sure we do something about that for you, okay? Yes, ma'am.
Wait. You have to, whoa. You need to make sure we have the microphone because this is being broadcast on Channel 97. These microphones are a little loud.
Hi, thank you. And thank you for enforcing the rules. We encountered one of your officers the other day, and he absolutely listed the rules. He was just a tiny bit
Shy?
No, dogmatic. And I felt like I was getting scolded. We were following the rules, but you know, I know he's probably new, and that's great, but maybe a little gentler with the senior group. I don't know.
Absolutely. We strive when it comes to our customer service etiquette, and that's one of the things that I always encourage my team to be. You guys are not just here to serve as officers, but they're here to provide a service. You know, customer service is what we do. I will definitely talk to that officer. Like I said, I have new officers this season that started off last weekend. You're going to see them again this weekend starting Thursday. But we're a phone call away, folks.
No.
My team should not be disrespecting anybody. They're just there to enforce the rules in a professional manner.
He wasn't really being disrespectful. He was just being extremely gruff and dogmatic, which is,
Okay.
I mean, probably new. So thank you.
You're welcome, of course.
I've been going to the pool every day, and nobody from your security has asked for ID cards.
Okay.
None of them.
And that was recently, or?
This morning
This
and
morning?
all last week.
I don't have officers there during certain times. I'm only having officers there on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. They're not there during the week.
So what good does it do? Nothing.
You can bring up those concerns with the master board, sir. I don't make those decisions, unfortunately.
Mike, I was just going to let you know, on the diaper issue, the rule is no kids under 3. And we saw one Saturday, under 3, in the pool. It's not just no diapers, it's you've got to be over 3 years old to be in the pool. And we've seen it a couple times already.
And I've already discussed that with that officer.
Thank you.
We did bring that up to him as well.
And again, we're there on Fridays and Saturdays. Nobody's ever asked us for our ID or to sign in.
That's going to change this
Okay.
coming Thursday. I
I
guarantee
think
it.
the idea is a great idea because over the years we see so many people come in that don't live here, or they come in with the residents and then the residents say goodbye and they come back that afternoon and pick them up.
Absolutely. So this Thursday, we're changing all that. IDs are going to be needed at the sign-in sheet for every resident that comes through. You cannot leave your guests alone there whatsoever, okay? We're not there to babysit your guest. Any other questions?
Mike, I just had one other question.
Sure.
No music at the pool, is that correct?
No music at the pool. I can't have anybody bringing in their little speakers. Sometimes even phones are loud. Believe it or not, we've gotten complaints about phones being brought in, and today's phones, they're designed to be loud. They got a little speaker, but it has a lot of punch in there, and it's disruptive to everybody else. So we're absolutely not allowing any music in the facilities.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Okay, so I just want to make sure that everybody understands we're not going to ask any questions until after the presenters have presented their presentation. So anyway, and please make sure that your cell phones are off. I heard one go off in the back. So just put them on vibrates, just so it doesn't disturb. And again, no questions until the very end. And I think that's it. And so I am going to introduce Mr. Michael Hestron, our District Attorney for Riverside County.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation. This is Maureen Dumichel. She's a Deputy DA at the District Attorney's Office, so she's going to be addressing you shortly. But I wanted to start out just by thanking you for having us, and also just to give you a kind of an overview of the District Attorney's Office. I was asked to kind of just give a little update, a little reminder. I know you all know, but a little reminder about what the DA's office does and kind of where we cover, how big we are. So Riverside County DA's office, district attorney's office, is the public prosecutor for the entire county of Riverside, and that's from, you know, the far western part, East Vale, all the way to Blythe. And so we handle all the criminal matters, virtually all the criminal matters. There are some federal crimes that we don't handle, but virtually all the criminal matters that occur in the jurisdiction of Riverside County, okay? So that means anything that Banning Police Department or Beaumont Police Department or the Sheriff's Department, anything that they might investigate, they'll be submitting that to us. So we handle about 55,000 criminal matters a year. So we're a massive county, right? So, you know, some of you may be from other parts of the country. If you go around the rest of the country, like especially the Midwest, the counties are all very tiny. And it's a small operation. So when you think about county government in most places in the United States, it's really a small government, and that includes the district attorney's offices. Certainly there are big city DA's offices in Chicago and New York, but here in Southern California, we have these massive counties in the South. And so our DA's offices and our county governments are huge. So for example, we have about 750 employees at the district attorney's office, about 250 lawyers, and we handle a range of things from, you know, misdemeanor prosecution, which could include, you know, DUIs to trespassing to, you know, petty theft. That's still sort of illegal in California, not very illegal, but it's sort of illegal in California. So sorry, that was my own. So. And then all the way up to, you know, homicides. And then what Maureen does, works in our special prosecution section, and they handle all kinds of things: major fraud, real estate fraud, elder abuse, on and on. They kind of do, we, you know, kind of call it white collar, but it's really more than that. They also handle appellate work, you know, writs and appeals, all those kinds of things. So we cover, as I said, we cover the entire county. So we do have an office here in the Banning Beaumont area, the San Gorgonio Pass. So it used to be a satellite office with just a couple of people in it. Interestingly enough, when I first started at the DA's office, I've been with the DA's office, this is my 27th year with the DA's office. So I started right out of law school, and now I'm the DA. Didn't plan to stay here. I was only going to come for a couple years and then move on, and I probably had some big plans and things that I was going to do. I don't even remember what those are anymore, but here I am 27 years later. So, but my first assignment was the Banning office, and I wasn't very happy about that assignment because there was only 2 of us here, and I thought, oh my gosh, what am I wanted to get cases. I was a young prosecutor. I ended up having the best time in Banning. The 2 of us, 2 prosecutors that were there, I handled all the misdemeanors, but it was a tiny little satellite office. I got great experience. I loved it. And in fact, I did a year, and then they said they were going to bring me back to Riverside. I said, I want to stay another year if you'll let me. They let me stay another year, and then I went back to Riverside. And so I did some time out here. It was just kind of cool in those days. They wouldn't have a Starbucks or anything, and it was really kind of a small town. So I would go to the couple places where you could have lunch, and people would see me and they'd say, oh, there's our DA. They thought that I was the DA for Banning because there was only 2 of us, so it was fun. Anyway, the Banning office is now a large office. It's no longer a satellite office. It's one of our main offices and covers this area, covers the crimes all down to Hemet, and so we handle quite a few cases out of this office here. And it's fully stocked with probably, how many do we have, 35 attorneys? 35 attorneys, yeah. So big difference from, you know, the early 2000s when there were 2 of us that were out here. So that's kind of an overview of our office. You know, it's a reminder we are the public prosecutor. We work for you, and we work for the residents of this county. And, you know, we do our best to push back on crime. You know, obviously we can't prevent all crime. Crime happens. But we take a pretty tough line here in Riverside County with criminals as best we can. I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end about what we do or what the state of the laws are in California, maybe some of the difficulties that we have in this county, you know, prosecuting. But at this time, what I want to do is turn it over to Maureen because she's got a presentation. As I said, she works in elder abuse, among other things. She does other other things. She wears a lot of hats in our office. But I do want to turn it over to her. She's going to do a presentation for you on elder abuse, and then she'll take any questions you may have, and then obviously I'll take any other questions you may have. So, Maureen Dumichel.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Far too modest, I think. He didn't tell you that before he became district attorney, he was our homicide DA who prosecuted all the most serious homicide cases, including Raymond Euler, the one who lit the fire over here, who's now on death row. That was Mike Hestron. So he's far too modest. But we are extremely fortunate here in Riverside County to have a DA that takes crime as seriously as he does. We've seen a trend statewide where a lot of crimes have been decriminalized. They've been lessened from severity, from felonies down to misdemeanors. And here in Riverside, we're still doing our very best that we can to hold criminals accountable for what they do, to keep the public safe, and make sure that our victims receive justice. So just a little bit, yes, that is a good thing that we're trying to do. So one of the things, a little bit about me, I know I don't look a day over 22, but I've actually been here at the DA's office for the last 17 and a half years. And so I actually knew I wanted to be an attorney when I was 13 because I love to talk. And so I was like, well, I got to get paid to talk, so I'm going to be an attorney. But then when I was 16 years old, I had a great uncle and aunt who were murdered by their property manager. My great aunt was 90 years old and bedbound at the time it happened, and her husband, my great uncle, was 78. And I saw the devastation that that crime had on my family. Going through a trial, the defendant was tried a special circumstance homicide, and witnessing how that DA's office fought so hard to get justice for my family made me want to be a prosecutor. So I knew that's what I was going to do pretty early on. And then it kind of came full circle when about in 2017, I got asked to go handle major fraud and real estate fraud. And then when I was doing the major fraud cases, I said, you know, a lot of these cases are affecting our senior citizens. There has to be a correlation here. And so at that point, the major elder abuse unit became formed. And so now I handle everything that deals with seniors or dependent adults, ranging from murders, sexual abuse, neglect, physical abuse, and financial abuse. So I'm here today to talk to you about some of the trends that we're seeing, the scams, and how best to protect yourself. Before we get started, how many of you have had children at one point? All right. When they were little, what did you tell them? Don't talk to strangers. That's going to be rule number one. Do not talk to strangers. When it comes to preventing yourself from being a victim of fraud, that is the best piece of advice I can give you. Do not talk to strangers. Be very careful with who you're speaking with. The second one, if you see something, say something. Look, you guys are passing this with flying colors here. Doing great. We're doing great. And if it sounds too good to be true, all right. Now that we've covered those basic 3 parameters, you'd be surprised how many of us forget this when we're actually on the phone with someone, and it happens to everyone. And so the important thing is the best way to prevent yourself from being a victim, those 3 rules, and also knowledge and education, finding out what the scams are, communicating to your neighbors and your friends, because those people that aren't here are going to be hit up by someone looking to scam them. So telling the information to others helps stop financial elder abuse and others from becoming a victim of scams. So we're going to talk a little bit today about scams, signs of financial abuse to look for, ways to protect yourself, and of course, see something, say something. I like to divide my scammers up into 2 kinds. I apologize in advance. I'm the doom and gloom a little bit. I have a bubbly personality, but I have to bring the negative information to make sure you know what to look for. And the first is going to be the unknown scammers, and then we're going to talk about the known scammers, because both of those are just as busy. So for our unknown scammers, this is a figure that was released from the Internet Crime Data Source that keeps track of all of these cyber crimes that are happening. And if you look here in 2023, the amount of loss worldwide from cyber crimes was $11.5 trillion. In 2027, that number is going to more than double to $23.82 trillion. Cybercrime is the way this is going. We used to have criminals that would want to, break into a house, steal money, maybe try to get your debit card, take from there. And don't get me wrong, that still happens. But right now, they are taking advantage of technology and using our computers, our phone, artificial intelligence in order to commit these thefts. So they are evolving, and we as law enforcement are having to try and keep up with them. So we're having to learn the scams, see what's going on, and educate the community as they're happening. If you look in Riverside County, of what was reported, $40.4 million in loss in 2021. In 2022, that number went up to $58 million. And that's only with people that knew that they needed to report to IC3. So we know that number is underreported. So it's happening here. We're not as high as other counties, but it's still happening. So we need to be aware that that's something we have to watch out for. The greatest amount of loss is in the over 60 population. The amount of individuals over 60 lost $624 million due to financial scams. That is the highest amount. It affects every demographic, but that is the highest amount of loss. Unfortunately, our seniors are the most victimized because as we get older, I'm experiencing this myself, a little bit slower, a lot more going on in my mind, and people may start to get more gullible or be experiencing cognitive deficits that they are not really that aware is happening to them. As I tell my parents, my mom gets so upset at me when I tell her this. I was like, Mom, you will be the last to know if you're slipping. So it's gonna fall on me when it comes time for the car keys to go to do that. She gets very upset, but sadly, that's the reality. She will be the last to know that it's happening. So we have to watch out for those around us. So if you look, the number of fraud victims has gone from in 2020 to 105,000. It dropped a little bit in 2021. But look at the amount of loss. It went from $966 million up to $1.685 billion in loss. So we know the number that they're taking is only getting higher. So we have to be more vigilant. We're going to talk about the cyber crimes that are happening so you know what to look for. How many of you have heard of romance scams? Okay, romance scams are one of the bigger ones. And here's the thing. I can tell you, we all sit here, we do not think it could happen to us. But Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever it may be, is a powerful media meme. And what's happening is people are developing friendships with people online. They're lonely, and they start having these conversations, and before you know it, they get into a relationship. And then that person that they've never met is asking them to send money, wiring hundreds of thousands of dollars because their amour, their loved one, has a child that's sick with cancer, can't get back into the United States, or there's all these other reasons why they need help. And so our seniors are falling for this and sending money over. And the number of times I've encountered a senior that refuses to believe their relationship is not real is shocking. It's very high. So be aware this can happen to anyone. It's very common, and that's one of the things we're seeing. We're also seeing an increase in investment scams. People trying to hit you up to spend your money. And that comes back to, again, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Someone saying, if you give me $30,000, I can get you a 50% return in 3 months. Well, that sounds amazing, right? Or, you make an investment, then they keep asking you to roll over your profit and you never get it back. Be very careful with what you're doing with your money. How many of you have heard of business email compromise? Okay, everyone use email? Do we communicate with businesses that use emails? What we're seeing a lot of times is a company, for example, I'll use a real estate company, an escrow company. They will be communicating with someone who is buying a house. Then the buyer will get an email that's a little bit different, that's from the escrow company, and it says, hey, we need you to wire the down payment for the house to this location. What the buyer doesn't know is that that business's email was compromised. And for the last month, someone has been using the email to communicate with that business's clients. The buyer sends the money where it's not supposed to go, the money is gone. So it's really important when you're dealing with businesses that you follow up with phone calls to known numbers to these businesses, especially if it comes time to transfer any type of money. That's really important. Pig butchering, I'm going to go into in a little bit. Ransomware attacks, that's happening where they're getting into actual agencies. County of San Bernardino just had their whole system compromised. Do not respond to any emails that you don't know. Watch out for phishing emails. Those are all good tips. And cryptocurrency theft is a thing that's happening. Is anybody involved with crypto? Oh, all right. I didn't think that this was something we needed to worry about with our seniors, but I found out in January I was very wrong. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Who knows these companies? Geek Squad, Microsoft, PayPal, and Amazon. These are the most impersonated companies that will email you, and it's scammers. Okay, so be aware when you get emails from them. These are some examples. I got this wonderful email from PayPal, and it said I needed to do something, and it looked kind of official. I didn't click on it, I delete it, but these are what they can look like, saying that there's an invoice description, sounds legit. If you're ever curious with an email, you can hit reply. Don't actually reply, and you can see the email address that it's originating from. That's a very easy way to spot a fake. Text messages. How many of you have gotten an increase in text messages? Yes. And you're going to get really scared in a second here. But an example on the left from Chase, I got that. I don't bank at Chase. But it looks like I paid someone, so if I wasn't fully with it, I might get a little nervous and click on the link. Never click on a text link, ever. UPS. Have any of you received a text that you have a package waiting? Oh, look at all those potential fraud victims. Look at you. Yes. Right? They just want you to click on the link, but you just want to get your package. I had one text me 3 times in the same day saying I had a package arrived. They can be very aggressive. What about these? I love it when people want to be friends with me and they just want to send me random texts and communicate. Okay, so these are the little more old school ones. How was your day? They want to see if you're going to respond. Because if you're lonely, maybe you will. Hi, sorry, wrong number. Who is this? And then the conversation is started up. But then here we go. Now we're going to talk about pig butchering. Has anyone heard of pig butchering? And I'm not talking about how we get bacon or ham. Yeah, pork sandwiches. It sounds all tasty, though. I hope we all ate lunch. But pig butchering is a huge thing right now. This is one of the top cyber crimes the FBI is focused on. We have criminal syndicated crime rings that are operating primarily out of Southeast Asia. And what they are doing is they are collecting human trafficking victims. They say, you can come over on a vacation, you've won a prize, you can come overseas. And then what they do is they get them into these compounds that are basically fenced in and they don't let them leave. And what they do is they give them 30 cell phones when they arrive, computers, and their job is to text message people and scam them. That is their full-time job, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of these organized crime rings operating overseas. So what they're doing with the pig butchering scam is they're using artificial intelligence. This actually was sent to a coworker. Hi. And my coworker, knowing about pig butchering, responded, "Are you okay?" Say something if you're not okay. But then it kept up, "Sorry, are you Martin? I'm Tina." And lo and behold, here comes Tina. This is not Tina. This is an AI image, okay? The problem is how the pig butchering scam goes. This died when he sent the picture of Martin Lawrence from the Martin Show. Tina was his wife on the show. That was the joke in there. But what happens with the pig butchering is they evolve where Tina is going to keep up a conversation, keep it going because she's very beautiful, and the person's going to keep responding. And eventually she's going to mention that she has to do an investment class. And the communication, they're going to develop a friendship. And eventually she's going to say that she made $200,000 taking this crypto class. And it's going to be very subtle. She's not going to give a lot of detail. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the victim ends up saying, I want this opportunity as well. And so the victim will ultimately try and invest some money. They'll get a little bit back, and then they invest everything. And it goes into cryptocurrency, at which point it becomes very difficult, if not impossible, to trace, and it gets taken, the victim gets taken for everything they have. So they call it pig butchering because the goal is to leave nothing left of the pig. They want to clear everybody out. Because ultimately, when you invest $100,000, $200,000, you keep investing to try and get that money back. You're told you have to pay taxes in order to get the money back. And you keep paying that. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what you're stuck with is all the money that you gave is gone. And then you get a big fat bill from who? The IRS, saying you owe $80,000 for all of the retirement accounts you liquidated. So pig butchering is huge. Never answer an unsolicited text. Do not respond. That is the biggest trend right now in cyber crimes, pig butchering. Spoofing. Who's heard of spoofing? Okay, spoofing, I got really excited because 2 weeks ago this happened to me. Because I always love that I can share these things. My husband answered the phone, so technically it happened to him. He answered the phone and it was our credit union calling. And it's a small credit union. It's not like Bank of America, that's an easy one. It was our actual credit union identified on caller ID along with the phone number that we call if we want to talk to our credit union. He answers the phone. They say, hello, Mr. Dumichel. We wanted to check with you. We're noticing some suspicious activity on your debit account. Did you buy tickets on Expedia.com to go to Jacksonville, Florida? No, I did not. Did you buy this in Georgia? No, I did not. Okay, we're going to shut down your card right now. We're going to freeze it. The last four of your card number is XYZ. We just need your expiration date. Pause. And I'm literally upstairs. Don't give them any information. It could be a scam. He's like, I know. And at that point, he says, I'm going to need to call you back, write the notes in your system, but I'm going to call back and verify, right? They hung up. He calls the bank, he doesn't hit call back. He enters the number manually, calls the bank. It wasn't the bank, okay? But this literally showed up as a nondescript credit union that nobody had any reason to know that was our credit union, but they knew. They knew. So that easily could have been a scam. I always tell seniors, members of the community we meet with, never give out any type of identifying information over the phone. Your bank will not ask you for it. IRS will not ask you for it. None of these places are going to ask you for it. So don't give out name, date of birth, social security number, anything like that. But the problem is we get stressed. We hear that our card has been compromised and our blood pressure starts going up. We get a little nervous, and then we just start doing things we wouldn't normally do if we were calm, cool, and collected, okay? So if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. But no, that's a pretty good one. They also can pretend to be your local police department. They can be people you know. It could show up that your best friend's calling you or your child. Don't give out any information. Tech support scams, this is a huge one. Microsoft, it'll say like you have a virus or something, you need to call this number. What ends up happening, they take control of your computer and everything on it. Your bank account information's on there, guess what? They're going into your bank account. IRS. The IRS does not contact you by email, text messages, or social media. It's not gonna happen. They're not gonna threaten you. So if it's you have to pay or you're going to get arrested, that's not legitimate. And you can communicate with the IRS through their website legitimately if you have questions. Grandparent scams. Who's heard of these? This is one of the biggest, most well-known ones. It is still happening. It's changing form a little bit with crypto. Now they'll be like, oh, I have a case right now where someone got swindled because he was told his grandchild was in jail in Mexico for killing a diplomat in a DUI. And he gave over $100,000 before he figured out it was not his grandson. Remember, AI, artificial intelligence, can manipulate the voices you hear. If you go on social media or even some certain websites, you can see AI videos of both presidential candidates that are fixed to have them saying things they're not actually saying. It can be done at any level. So be aware your loved one's voices may be imitated, replicated, which is also why you should not stay on the phone with scammers, because you don't want to give them an opportunity to record your voice. Gift card scams. This is another one. This is where you'll get a phone call and someone will say you need to pay money that's owed by going to Target, Lowe's, and buying gift cards. And you'll be asked to put your payment on these gift cards, and you buy them, and then you go and you give them the information on the back of the gift card. And then guess what? Your money's gone. I have talked to so many victims that are just like you and me, all cognitively intact, that have fallen for that scam. This tends to hit around the holiday time. So we've also worked with Adult Protective Services to do a gift card scam campaign to also educate stores that they need to look out for this as well. Some other quick scams, lottery scam, just don't do it. I know you get excited about Publishers Clearinghouse, but you're not gonna win. Unless it's like through the actual lottery and it matches, you're just not gonna win. Just don't even fall for it. Jury duty scams. Do you all show up for jury duty? You should. We need you there. It's your civic duty. But you will never be arrested if you don't show up. That doesn't mean you don't have to go. You do need to go. But you will never be told if you pay in Green Dot or gift cards that you can get out of jury duty. That's not legitimate. They wish it's true, but that's not legitimate. Hospice fraud is a big one that's going on. Hospice fraud is occurring where they may come door to door and ask you if you want to be on hospice. Who here right now wants to be on hospice? I don't. Nobody does, right? I'm not. I got hopefully more than 6 months. I don't want to go there. But what they're telling people is, you know what? Hospice now, because of the new changes to Medicare, it's great. They'll do your cooking, your cleaning, your grocery shopping. You want to ride to your doctor's appointment, they'll take you there. Let's sign you up for hospice. And these seniors sign up thinking that sounds like a pretty great deal. Well, what ends up happening is Medicare is getting defrauded for claims that you're on hospice. And when you're on hospice, they cancel all of your medications, any doctor's appointments you have coming up, and any medical procedures you have coming up. So it really puts these seniors in a very vulnerable state because they can be victimized further by not getting the health care they need. So don't ever sign up for anything hospice-wise because, again, sounds too good to be true. It is too good to be true. Fake charities, be careful with who you give money to. When disasters happen, everybody under the sun is going to come out and want money. Just be very careful. And checking. If you're still using checks to pay your bills, don't let them sit in the mailbox to go and wait for them to be picked up. You should directly take those to the post office and drop them in because it's easy for criminals. Breaking into mailboxes happens all the time. They can take out your identifying information. They can wash the checks to make it look like it's written out to somebody else for a certain amount of money. So, tips, we've already covered this. Don't click on things. Just don't do it. And if you need to call your bank, you call them back. You can always hang up on someone. It's not rude to do it if you don't know them. It's okay. You have my permission. And then you call them back directly and follow up with what you need. This is where it gets really sad. The known scammers. Most of my defendants are family members, adult children, adult grandchildren that get entitled or greedy. I've had a couple lawyers in there, a couple financial advisors. So really, you're not safe from strangers, and sometimes you're not safe from your own family members. So that's the depressing news. But what do we look for? $20 billion a year in loss from people that they know. So it's not just the unknowns, it's the people that you know. Different kinds of fraud that we see is theft, straight out larceny. Like if I come up to you, I'm gonna take your pen here and you're not gonna get it back. You weren't afraid because I'm such a dainty little thing. That would be a theft larceny by theft. But let's say you trust me to do something for you. Let's say I'm your power of attorney or your business bookkeeper, and I take money without you knowing it. I'm embezzling. I'm using that position of trust in order to steal from you. That's another theory of theft. Forgery is where I write your name on something you didn't sign, or you give me a check and I fill it out to somebody else in an amount that's not for them. That's a forgery. And then the good old identity theft. That's common. It happens to everybody. A lot of times people will want some type of security. They'll pay for a service to monitor their identity. Whether people do that or not is up to them. The handouts in the back, there's information on how to order a free credit report every year. It's perfectly free that you can monitor and see if there's been any new credit activity on your credit. So these are the different things that we see in the financial world. What makes it harder for seniors is capacity issues sometimes. Does anyone recognize these people? Okay, at the top we have Mr. Hugh Hefner with his lovely wife, latest wife, Crystal Hefner. And at the bottom we have Anna Nicole Smith, who married the billionaire, right? Both of these were true love matches, I can just tell. But one of the things that makes it harder is that a lot of times we will see cases where adult children are upset that their parent and a new significant other is getting a lot of money. And it ultimately comes down to we as adults can make whatever financial decisions we want to do with our money. They can be terrible decisions, they can be good decisions. But as long as we have capacity, we have the right to self-determination. Unfortunately, in the gray area, a lot of times we have to figure out, does a victim have capacity to make these decisions? And did the defendant know, or should they have known, that the victim didn't have capacity? So signs of financial abuse that I see most commonly when you know the suspected abuser. One, you don't have access to your bank account information. Let's say you always pay via, you get your bank statements mailed to you. If you're suddenly not getting your statements or somebody else has switched you to online banking, you should always have your password and login information available at your disposal. Even if someone manages your money under a power of attorney, you should always be given updates on what's happening with your finances. Demand to see the bank statements, ask the questions. When we see money that's not going to benefit the senior and that's being spent on things like Uber Eats and trips that the senior's not going on, that can be a sign of financial abuse. Or if there's unknown or unauthorized credit activity, that's another big one. Money going missing, inappropriate reimbursement to caregiver. These are all some of the things that we see. Powers of attorney. Has everyone done their estate planning here? Okay, not giving any advice on that, just otherwise everyone should have their estates in order because you want all the money that you've worked to acquire to go in the way you want it to go. Whether it be your family, whether you want to spend it all while you're here, great. But powers of attorney are a way that people entrust others with managing their money or their medical decisions. They die with the senior, they don't survive death, but it's also really important because it creates a fiduciary relationship between the person that has given it and the person that has taken responsibility. So just because someone holds a power of attorney over a senior does not mean they can do whatever they want with a senior's money. So it's really important distinctions to be aware of. Tips, always monitor your banking activity. Don't leave mail in your mailbox. How many of you leave mail in the mailbox? I do it too, it's okay. I do it too, sometimes I forget. Consider using credit cards when you're doing point of service transactions. If you go to the gas station and you fill up and you use a debit card, if that system is compromised, they're going to have your debit, which is connected to your checking. If you use a credit card, you can cut it off at the source and just cut off that card. Same thing, ladies, if you're going to the grocery store, are you taking your purse with everything in there, with your 20,000 checkbooks and all your credit cards and forms of identification and passports? What happens if you get mugged and someone takes that? Maybe only leave the house with what you actually need. Medicare cards. If you're not going to the doctor, do you need to have it on you? Maybe not. Just little tips, things like that can lessen your risk. If you're traveling, you can request a mail hold on your mail. I don't know if you have the locked mailboxes here. If you do, that's a great preventative way, but those also can be broken into, all right? You can request mail holds through the post office. Real estate fraud. This is actually what our office investigates from the ground up. So this is one that is a big thing. We are seeing an increase with door-to-door scammers when it comes to real estate. They come up to you and be like, you know what, I can buy your property for $150,000 cash. Okay. Did you know your property is worth $450,000? That might not be a crime, but it is predatory practicing, and so be aware you want to take the time and get a second opinion when it comes to decisions like that. House flipping, it's kind of like an investment scam. We're seeing with people, if you give me $50,000, we'll purchase this property together and then flip it, and then nothing ever comes of it. My mother-in-law fell for that. That's after both myself and my DA husband said, don't do it, it's a scam, still did it. So these things happen. Be aware of strange financing. There are a lot of things that are legal that may not be in your best interest. Real estate is one of those where basically buyer beware. We had a case that I got a call about where a woman signed over 90% of her property interest to a friend, just 'cause. She is cognitively intact. She meant to sign the document. It's not a false document. Now that friend holds a 90% interest in her house. That's not a crime. But that woman is in trouble. Like, she no longer has title really for her house. So be aware, these transactions you enter into can be very serious. Unfortunately, this is a meme I saw on Instagram, and I had to screenshot it. This was a dude walking through the grocery store like, yeah, and where he's saying to himself, when the 83-year-old starts hitting on you at the store and you realize this might be your best chance at homeownership. We see this a lot, unfortunately, where someone gets befriended because of what they have, and they insert themselves into the senior's life, and then that is where everything starts to go south. So be aware, the generations coming up behind you, statistically, by the numbers, are not slated to be as successful as your generation was. They view seniors as cash cows. So that's why when new people try to befriend my parents, I'm very skeptical. No new friends, don't talk to strangers, and who are you and what do you want? That may make me neurotic, but better safe than sorry. This is a courtesy notice. If something is ever recorded against a property you own, it will be sent out by the county recorder's office. It's got Mike's signature on there as well. I promise he signs every single one. And what it is basically saying, hey, we had a document recorded against your property. If you did not record this document, contact the district attorney's office immediately, because that will be investigated by our real estate fraud unit. That's how serious we take protecting our homeowners here. That we want to make sure that if anything's recorded, you get notice of it, and then let us know if it wasn't. Caregiver abuse and neglect. I say this in the hopes that we all really need to look out for each other. A lot of the biggest crime rise I'm seeing is coming out of caregivers that are entrusted to take care of elders that maybe can't take care of themselves. If you start to notice a senior that seems to be isolated from their friends and family, that also doesn't appear to be aware of what's happening with their money, that may seem like they're over-medicated or under-medicated, or maybe they're being restrained in ways they shouldn't, these are all types of things that can be signs of caregiver neglect that want to be reported. How many of you take a bunch of medications? Speaking of caregivers. Anybody take medications? Okay, and I'm sure as you've gotten older, they're getting less and less, right? Okay. One of the biggest tips from working with the geriatrician doctors I work with as part of the Elder Abuse Forensic Center is to always encourage seniors, every time you go to the doctor, take a list of your medication to your doctors. I know that they want to get you in and out as quickly as possible. My brother's a doctor, I get it. But that's where you're like, no, we're going to sit and go through this. Because oftentimes what will happen is you will be prescribed a medication for one thing. That second medication causes another symptom. and then they give you a medication for that symptom. And really, if you just reconcile the medications, you may be able to eliminate a few. So always reconcile your medications with your doctor, because sometimes medications can lead to capacity issues or drugging you to where you don't really understand what's going on. So you always want to make sure your doctor's aware. Don't give caregivers access to your money or your finances. Be aware of anyone trying to influence you to change your will or trust. That's a huge one right now. Make your needs and wants clearly defined through estate planning, and be skeptical of people you don't know. So, what do you do if you suspect that someone is being abused financially, or you think something's amiss? The first person you want to call is Adult Protective Services. Now, before you all scribble, in the packet back there, it has all of this information, so you don't feel you need to write it down. Adult Protective Services handles, I want to say, somewhere about 40,000 reports every single year. They deal with tremendous volume. They will never disclose who the reporting party is, but they are often the first people that get involved when there is a senior that is vulnerable in some way, shape, or form, and something suspicious is happening. So you can always report to them. Ombudsmen deal with seniors that are in facilities. Office on Aging is a great resource for seniors if you have any questions or you're looking for services. Banning PD would be your local law enforcement agency. And then if you're ever a victim of cybercrime, you'd want to report it to IC3. The last thing I want to say, when it comes to cybercrime, the District Attorney's Office this year started the formation of a cybercrime working group with law enforcement, to where we are reaching out and creating liaisons with every law enforcement station to get them access to training on how to investigate cybercrimes and what to do with cybercrimes. Because unfortunately, a lot of the times law enforcement will say, there's nothing that we can do. So we're getting them up to speed. So if you ever find yourself to be a victim, be sure to take the information to law enforcement. Insist on getting a report. Make them take down the information, because that's part of what we're doing, is we're working with them to get them up to date as well, to make sure that we can keep members of the public as safe as possible. There's just what IC3, Internet Crime Complaint Center, looks like. And so that's my spiel. I hope it wasn't too depressing, but I always enjoy coming here. This is my second time here. And then if you have questions, we can take questions.
I have a question for you all about calls that come in. What are they? Cyber calls or whatever. My 92-year-old friend gets them every day starting at 8 o'clock, and they don't stop until nighttime. And is there a way to block these calls? They're just robocalls.
Right. So what you can do in the handout, there's the information for the Do Not Call registry.
Okay.
That, however, has since they've gotten around it. It's not as effective as it used to be, but register for Do Not Call. And I always tell people, don't answer it. If you don't know the number, don't answer it, because anyone important is going to leave you a message, and you can call them back at your leisure.
Well, we tell her that, but she likes to talk.
Well, but that's exactly how this starts.
Yep.
She likes to talk, and unfortunately, once you get on one scammer's
Yep.
radar, it's like you go into their little black book, and they just keep calling and calling.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Hello. Okay. Is it on? Yeah. Okay. A few weeks ago, I had to call the Medicare fraud person, and they said that to keep the red, white, and blue Medicare card in your wallet, and I said, I was told a long time ago that when I had my Medicare card, not to keep it in my wallet, but he said that it's different these days. You need to keep it in your wallet. So, yeah.
So with the Medicare card, it used to be your Medicare number was your Social Security number. That changed to where everyone was given a different number. So in that sense, there is a difference from the card. But remember, your Medicare number is still personal identifying information, even though it's not your Social Security. So if you're going to the doctors, absolutely. Just for me, if I don't need something, I'm not going to necessarily take it, but you can do whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay, so you're saying when I go to the doctor to take it, and then when I'm not there to keep it at home?
That's what I would do personally, but
Okay.
again, you have to do these are tips that we've seen of what has been advised, and you have to do what you feel comfortable with doing.
I have a question. I have a friend whom I think is in a difficult situation financially. The signs of the financial abuse that you put up there are present. However, it's a husband and wife situation. Is that the kind of thing that she could report to Elder Protective Services, or does that fall under some other type of problem solving if it's between a husband and wife, restricting access to earnings and bank statements and that kind of thing?
So it depends. It can fall into, if it's someone who's over 60 years of age and you're concerned about financial abuse, that can
Yes.
appropriately be reported to Adult Protective Services. Now, if they're able to substantiate a claim of financial abuse, can report it directly to the local law enforcement agency. If you know there's abuse going on, that can also be reported to law enforcement. But crimes can be committed against spouses, like domestic violence. That's usually people that are involved in a relationship. It can still be a crime. Just like if there is theft occurring, it's still a crime. There may just be more nuances that need to be looked into. But again, Adult Protective Services is not specific for criminal. It could just be if there is a struggle or a need there, connecting that client with services.
Okay, and would they report the name of the person who reported that?
No, they are to keep the reporting party anonymous.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was very recently told by a friend that if you receive a call and they ask you, is this such and such, they say your name, and if you say yes, even that little bit can be used in scamming. I'm not sure exactly how it would be used, if you could elaborate, but just saying yes, they have your name and you saying yes.
So I have heard that as well, but I think practically speaking, if you're going to answer the phone, I mean, that's how, when I call victims, I say, hi, may I please speak to Michael Hestron? This is Michael Hestron. That's really how we communicate. So yes, anything is possible. With technology being what it is, they're able to get very clever, but you still also have to be able to live your life and communicate. But that's again why I would come back to, if you don't recognize the number, don't answer it. And then if you're going to call back, it's going to be on your terms, knowing you are calling the right person.
I have an issue that has come up on some recent financial calls that I've made to my financial institution. And the institution itself, of course, wants to know that I am actually me. They have not asked for my complete social or anything like that, but they have asked for the last four. Is that legitimate, or should I ask them to pick some other way of identifying me and verifying my identity to them?
So with the financial institutions, if you are calling your bank, you are calling the number that is given to you by the bank, it is not something you're calling back on your phone, though they will generally ask for, when I call my bank, they ask for my last four and my account number. Because I have called them, I give them that information because they have access to it anyways. You can ask your bank if there's another way that you can authenticate yourself. I think that's going to depend on every bank, what they want to do. But it's really important to be careful with your bank, because financial institutions are drawing a line in the sand when it comes to scams versus fraud. So a lot of banks take the position that if you knowingly give the money over, that is a scam and it's not covered. Whereas if someone accesses your bank account without your permission, that is fraud, which does get regrouped. So they are treading a line there, which that's up to them of how they want to do it. But a lot of victims of scams are finding themselves out of luck because they knowingly gave the money over, even though they didn't know the true purpose.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, with all of these scams going on, you know, the company that advertises a lot is called, I believe, LifeLock. Like for how much value does that hold for us to use them?
I'm not speaking about LifeLock specifically, but just in general, companies can charge for services that you can do yourself. That there's nothing illegal about that. But really, I think a lot of those companies are for peace of mind, where you have someone that's monitoring your credit report. Keep in mind, you can do a lot of those things where you can sign up for your financial institution to give you text messages of transactions that are coming in. Like I get notified by text every time my credit card gets used. You can monitor your checking account with the free annual credit report every year to see if someone has tried to take out credit in your name. But if it makes you feel better to pay for a monthly service, I mean, there's nothing stopping anyone from doing that. It's just a question of what do you feel comfortable on. Sometimes if someone, like let's say you shop at Target and Target's system gets compromised, Target may pay for everyone whose card was compromised to have a year of LifeLock, right? It really is up to the consumer if that's something that they want to participate in. Like your real estate holdings, for if something's recorded against your property, those, anytime a document is recorded with the recorder's office, they will send out a courtesy notice. After the fact, right, but that also is done pretty close in time with when the document is recorded. But what's important to note is that the recorder's office has to record what they're given as long as it complies with the four corners of the document. It doesn't have to be legally accurate. So if I felt inspired and really wanted to lose my job and went into the recorder's office and put a deed on Mike's house that said, I now own Mike's house, they're gonna let me record that. But Mike will get a notification to say, Maureen recorded this document on your property, and Mike, being as prudent as he is, will assign an investigator to look into it, and then it can be undone and taken care of.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, here we go.
I have a question for Mike. I know each county is a little bit different in how they look at things, and I know also you're restricted by state laws to a great extent. Now I know like the DA in Los Angeles is very soft on crime, has a reputation for being soft on crime. How would you say Riverside County compares to LA County and his philosophies? For example, I know that he has outlawed enhancement on convictions for certain crimes and so forth. So I'd like to hear your response to that.
Well, it's easy. We're the polar opposite. So I'm probably the most polar opposite of George Gascon in the state. I've been the district attorney 3 terms. I'm in my 3rd term now. And last time when I ran, I was my opponent. I had 2 opponents. And I would say that both of them were in some way more of the philosophy of the George Gascons of the world. And what I said at the time, and I'll just say it again, is the job of the district attorney is not to make the law, not to decide which laws are enforced and which laws are not enforced. The job of the district attorney is to enforce the law as it is written by the legislature or by the people themselves, as it is written, not as I wish it was written, or not as anyone else might wish it was written. And so I'm bound by the law. So everything that's illegal in state law, I enforce state law, not federal law, not city ordinances. But everything that's illegal under California law, we enforce in Riverside County. And we do it to the best of our ability. Does that mean we can always do it? You know, judges, we have to deal with judges, we have defense attorneys, we certainly have a system that we have to go through, but there's no law that I've decided I just don't enforce. I don't do that. Other questions for me or for Maureen? See, I shut everybody up. See, this is, Maureen got all these questions that I get up and I don't know, everyone wants to go home. So this is your chance to grill the DA or grill Maureen. Anybody else? Yes.
Just a minute. There we go.
Kind of a peripheral question, but
Hold the mic close.
can you do jury duty when you pass 72? I thought I would get called. I know there's that checkoff area in there, but I thought since I retired, I have more opportunity.
Do you want to be a juror?
But I haven't. Well, every time it comes up, I consider it. I wouldn't turn it down, but I haven't been called. So I didn't know if
Yeah.
that happens or not.
I don't know how the county, how often you get called. I mean, pretty often. I get jury duty. No one ever lets me on a jury, but I do get called. I show up. So, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know how often or how they cycle. Anybody else?
No one else has a question?
There
Oh,
we
there
go.
we go, right here.
Let's put it this way, but 4 or 5 years ago, there was not fraud, but scam against us. We reported this to the police department and also the social services here in Banning. How soon after that are we supposed to hear anything back from them?
You mean you report something 5 years ago, you never heard anything back?
Not a word.
Okay, well, you can probably assume that they're not doing anything. 5 years have passed, so you got to probably follow up, or you should have followed up, call back, say, hey, I haven't heard anything, what's happening? So you reported this to the Banning Police Department?
Yes.
Okay, so it's probably gone. I mean, the statute of limitations has run, so there's probably nothing that can be done now on that. But just as a tip, if you report anything to the any agency, whether it be Banning or the Sheriff's Department or whatever the case may be, and you don't hear something back within a couple of weeks, at the latest, call them back. If you're not getting anywhere, call the district attorney's office. Call us. Just.
The last I had heard anything from them, not from the police or the social services, was from the scammers. And that was about a year ago. And after that, I haven't heard a word from them, so. But I just want somebody else. I know I'm not going to get any money back or anything like that, but I just want some other people that don't get rooked into this like I did.
Yeah. You got to be, just like Maureen said, you got to be really careful. I'll just tell you anecdotally a story. A lady was kept coming to the district attorney's office because she had, I don't know if you remember this, she had sent money to some other country because she was told she won the lottery in that country, even though she'd never been to that country. And she kept coming to our office to report that they weren't paying her. And she was insistent that she was owed this money, she was sure, and that she had sent money, but she thought she was owed the bigger amount, and we kept having to tell her, you're not getting any money. It's not coming. They stole your money. So it's very sad. It happens a lot. People get taken in. Remember what con men and women are. The con stands for confidence. They gain your confidence. Somehow they gain your trust. And like Maureen said, these they use telephones. They use digital any way they can. So be careful. Yes.
It's my understanding that we do not have currently in Banning a chief of police, okay? I believe I just heard you say, really you should report things to chief of police first, and I believe I just heard you say if you're not getting a response from a chief of police, then come to the DA's office?
No, I didn't say the chief of police. Just call the
Police department.
The police department, yes. If you report a crime and you're not getting a response back, you call the non-emergency line and say, hey, I reported a crime, say 3 days ago or a week ago. I haven't heard anything back. I'd just like to know if there's going to be any follow-up. And you know, don't just wait and hope someone calls you. Call them and be proactive. Anything else?
No other questions?
Well, it was a pleasure being with you. Thank you, Maureen. Great job. So thanks for coming. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Maureen. So just to let everybody know that our next Supervisor Gutierrez's office is going to be here next month, the first Tuesday and he's putting on a health and wellness fair. So he's going to have all the agencies in from Riverside County will be right here. So you'll want to come in and see what he has to present. And I'm really excited that he's coming back and he wants to come back and see us again. So thank you for coming, and thank you, Mike and Maureen.